Welcome to Soundbites, everybody. Kip Ione, founder, Teams of Men here. If you're watching this, you're about to dive into another episode of our weekly Soundbites segments. The Soundbites is either going to give you best clips and sounds from our latest hive mind with like-minded coaches from across the country who are activating our lesson plans and our educations and trying to share and learn best practices for building your players as men in your program. If that's not a hive mind week, you're listening to a Soundbites. It's going to be me discussing ways to activate and weaponize current events from across the country that I think are usable and teachable moments with you and your team, whether it's through Zoom, whether it's in person, whether it's in a share. I'm going to be talking about in those types of Soundbites ways to activate what they're seeing in their scrolls, what you're seeing on the news. Either way, welcome back to Soundbites.
And the only thing I could ever answer was, no, it's not my guys. And I went to bed at night really struggling to sleep. Like, I don't know why it's not my guys. I have done nothing to educate or help their decision-making paradigm. I can probably thank their parents for raising them right, and also just the luck of the life draw that it was another program's players that committed these acts, that it was another person in Salem that committed these acts, and it wasn't somebody associated with me. And having that gut feeling of you're failing in that what you believe for yourself is your job of building young men out of the boys you get as a recruiter, but also remembering all the times I'd promised to parents, either in home visits or on campus visits, that I was in the business of molding men, creating a family, and helping their son leave a legacy. And I had done nothing besides the basketball component of that. And I really, I really had to take a long look in the mirror and say, I'm done with this answer. I'm done with this answer. I'm done with I hope it wasn't my guys, we'll see. And I decided, I'm a coach. I live in the world of sequencing and creating messaging that drives change and movement in my players. So why am I not doing that with them as men? So that next year, and so that's been almost a decade now, our guys go through the Teams of Men character development program, which is 15 to 20 intentional meetings, touch points during the year, where we are helping them redefine what they believe it is to be a man in the 21st century. And I'm not giving them a cookie cutter carbon like, hey, you should be like Kip. Trust me, my wife would laugh her ass off if I tried to sell my brand of masculinity as what people should be, right? Really what I'm selling is the ability to mirror train or take the self journey and be willing to ask yourself, why do you believe what you do, and what actions are you willing to take to prove that belief? That is what we got to over conversations with experts and people in the field. Willamette's located right across the street from the state capital of Oregon. So all of the Oregon Attorney General's task force and all the resources of our campus advocates, our Title IX coordinators on campus, I utilized all those people to help me kind of shape in the beginning, which was a sexual assault prevention plan, and really morphed into, in order to prevent these, we really have to take a look at how our guys believe they should act as men, because these terrible actions most of the time take place when men are trying to prove their masculinity to themselves or others.
And then we look around and we go, ooh, I should have written all that down and kept it organized. Right. So how did you go about, what did that process look like for you?
I think the first year and a half was a bunch of one-offs. So I was committed to this speaker. Oh, we'll do this movie. We'll do this reading. And I was committed to multiple touch points, but none of them were sequenced and none of them were based on knowledge about prevention to victim advocacy, greater themes. So I had this lesson plan that really didn't lead to any assessment or really didn't have an overarching learning objective, right? I was just doing it. And so I think talking with, different folks, like I mentioned, our Title IX and campus advocate Carly Roner and Andrea Doyle-Humeyer now, talking with folks across the state, starting to figure out how do the experts that live this work every day, how do they sequence information, and what can I take out of that that's doable for a basketball team, that's doable with the time restraints we have. So I would say that what was good for me to learn and probably has helped my coaching in general was I've got to be the guinea pig in vulnerability. I've got to be the one that's willing to stand up there and be authentic and say, guys, here was my thought process as your coach. I think I failed in these areas. I think I failed in this area as a man, or I think I failed in this area as a husband, as a father, and model that vulnerability. And that allowed some of the kids, I think, to feel more comfortable.
Appreciate you listening to this episode of Soundbites from Teams of Men. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're checking us out on social media at teams_men on Twitter. Follow me, Kip Ione, Ioane, on LinkedIn. And if you like what you hear from a Hive Mind segment of these sound bites, be sure use the links included below in the comments and the descriptions of the video to join us for our next Hive Mind.